The broader African context, we've currently got the 48th annual African Development Bank gathering having kicked off in Marrakech already. And one of the areas discussed include progress made by African countries to accomplish the 2015 Millennium Development Goals. CNBC Africa's Godfrey Mutizwa spoke with Ben Leo, who's a global policy director of the One campaign, about the progress African countries have made in reaching these goals.
What we find is largely an optimistic picture, where many African countries are accelerating their progress, and in fact 30 countries have improved how they're performing against the MDGs over the last few years.
30 of 54 is good progress.
That's very good progress, and some of them are demonstrating dramatic progress in accelerating results, like Rwanda or Liberia, several other countries as well.
What's that got to do with anything? Is it because of the faster economic growth in those regions, or is it because of perhaps better commitment from their governments?
I think it's a confluence of factors. Obviously, growth is going to lift all tide, or it's the tide that will lift all boats. But what we're finding is that there's a strong relationship between those governments that are prioritizing their own domestic resources on health, education, agriculture over time, and results now. Very strong relationship.
Yeah. So 30 or 54 are making progress, which means the other 24 are not making as much progress. Let's talk about them and why. Why are they not advancing?
I think, again, there's a number of different factors at play. In some of them, it's slow growth. Some of them, it is governance issues. Some of it is underinvestment. Each story has its own unique situation. Like, for example, one of the countries that continues to lag is at the bottom of the league table is Zimbabwe. And we have an index. The highest you can get is an 8, and Zimbabwe is 0.5, and it's been stuck there for many years. We know the challenges is in Zimbabwe.
True. And yet you look at a country like the DRC, there's been some kind of stability, but they're still sort of anchored towards the bottom of that log as well.
Yeah, absolutely. DRC, obviously a lot of that is driven by domestic instability, governance issues. But also when you look at where it's investing its resources, it's not in these sectors that have a potentially transformational role, both near term and medium term.
Yeah. So overall picture looks good. There's work to be done. What needs to be done to make sure that before we start discussing the 2015 post agenda, we fix things now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a couple of things that need to be done. One is African governments need to meet their own commitments. So what we see is, if you look in these three sectors, over the next 3 years, between now and 2015, if they met their own commitments, it's an extra $243 billion we estimate for these sectors. If spent effectively and accountably, that could have game-changing results. When you look at the international community, there's a couple of vehicles that are being replenished this year, like the African Development Bank, the World Bank, a couple of others, and we hope that donor governments will step up and do their part as well.
What's the picture there, though? Because what we have seen is, as governments have come under fiscal pressure, particularly in Europe, they've also cut back on their commitments to help in developing countries.
Yeah, they have. They have, and what we found is actually that they are reducing their assistance disproportionately on average to sub-Saharan Africa. It's very concerning, and this is something
Could that be because sub-Saharan Africa has also been one of the faster growing regions in the world, and therefore in their eyes the need is much less than before?
Well, I hope that's the case. I don't think that's the case.
What is the case?
I think the case is that there have been a couple of other regions that had flashpoints. North Africa, a couple of others where scarce resources were taken and moved over to a couple of other places. So we hope that, while there has been tremendous progress in sub-Saharan Africa, it still is one of the poorer regions in the world, and one of that has the greatest need. So we hope that this will shift back, that they will show a strong commitment to the continent, and we'll see a reversal of these cuts.
Yeah, one of the things I don't understand is, I mean, you look at a situation like Zimbabwe, so the country's in trouble, but you actually find, instead of UN agencies and all these other agencies actually coming in and helping where there's a desperate need, it's not happening. Is that politics? What is it?
Yeah, Zimbabwe is a complex case, as I mentioned before. I've actually spent a lot of time working on Zim over the years. One of the challenges is that Zimbabwe has defaulted on its debts. And many of these donors cannot re-enter the country in a large way until those debts are cleared. So
Right.
it's a bit of a catch-22.
Absolutely, a little bit like the bank and the customer. The customer is in trouble, the bank doesn't want to help, and the customer doesn't need the bank wants to help him.
Yeah, it's a
That
challenging
equation
situation.
needs to change, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should. It should. Some of that is politics.
Yeah.
But there's no question that it needs to change for Zim to be able to get the support that it needs.
Yeah, so we're beginning to see faster economic growth in Africa, and therefore meaning, of course, revenues are looking much better than they are. In terms of resource deployment, are you seeing a shift and perhaps an increase from the African governments themselves, particularly those that have been growing?
Yeah, we have seen that over time. The IMF estimates in 2011 $360 billion domestic expenditures. It's supposed to grow to $460 billion by 2015. The numbers are growing exponentially. And like I said before, the countries that are demonstrating progress are the ones that over time have further prioritized these productive and long-term investment sectors.